And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to CinemAsian Ep.7. Today we are going to talk about Yes, Madam / Police Assassins. And as you can see with me, my co-host, Joe,
What's up, everybody?
the Hong Kong titty slap. And of course, we have our trusty Loey in the chat. The pizza squad. If only he knew. So today we are going to talk about Police Assassins. It is with two of my favorite ladies in the Hong Kong movie, cinema, whatever, is Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. I'm so excited. So today was the first time you saw the movie, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, thanks again. I know we talked about it briefly a little bit today. But thanks for recommending it again because it was really cool for me. And obviously, Sana and I do research about the people in the movies, right? So because we need to know what the hell we're talking about up here. Sana sent me this really cool thing about Cynthia Rothrock and like how she has like black belts in like 7 different martial arts or 8 different martial arts, something like that. And she actually has an A3 black belt in Tang Soo Do, the art I practiced and studied. So I was like, oh, this is sweet. And then I started digging up all this info about her, and she actually was born in Wilmington, Delaware, but she grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is literally like 3 hours away from where I live right now. So like, it's fucking crazy, you know?
Yeah.
She's a badass. Like, she is such a badass chick. Like, she will kick your ass. Like,
yeah,
kick your ass. She's fucking amazing. Like, she's awesome as hell. In real life and in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, she's legit. And also, as a side note, that Sonya Blade is based on Cynthia Rothrock. Just so you know, she is a fucking badass. For me personally, let me grab the box. Ooh, I discovered this movie because I think 15 years ago, so I was collecting a lot of Hong Kong movies, and you had luckily those awesome DVD boxes, Hong Kong Legends, and I stacked up on, was hoarding them like a crazy motherfucker. And this one contains Police Assassins, so that's how I know the movie, but I know generally it's known as Yes, Adam. And basically, you see two badass cops going at it. It's the plot. If I'm missing out, please help me out, Joe. So it basically starts with the character Michelle Yeoh, and she is Inspector Ing, if I pronounce it correctly. Well, first off, the first 10 minutes basically represents Hong Kong movies. It's a lot of humor and a lot of action all at the same time. Like you see her in some sort of bookshop library, and you see this weird guy staring at her, and it's just like in the first 5 minutes, and he really is like looking at her like predator-ish, like ugh. And then he stands behind her, and then he opens up his jacket, and he is basically like flashing himself. But she turns around with a book, and she like slaps it down there, and finally the guy gets arrested. And basically right after that, as soon as they walk out, shit hits the fan because there is like a robbery going on, and you already get to see what a badass Michelle Yeoh is. And as Joe said before, Cynthia Rothrock, she has an entire history in martial arts, but Michelle Yeoh, not so much. She was I think in 1980, she was Miss Malaysia, and her only background is being a ballerina. And in 1983, she did a commercial with Jackie Chan, whereas Golden Harvest was like, hey, we would like to have you for our movies. And I believe once I read somewhere where she said, like, you know, I don't know any martial arts. And they were like, yeah, but you're a dancer, so you have to see this. It's everything is a choreography, so you'll be able to do it. And another thing that you have to do, which is why this movie is so badass, you have to do your own fucking stunts. And if you want to talk about badass women in movies, this is definitely the one to check out. And I totally already missed out on the plot. So basically, it's about a microfilm that contains evidence that a and there's this bad guy. Talk about Bruce Lee, right? Like, what's his name again? Tien?
Yeah, I think it's
Something?
Tien. Yeah, just 10. I think it's Mr. 10 or Mr. Tien, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he is the pretty boy in the Bruce Lee movies, and here you see him as the bad guy, and his laugh is amazing.
Oh, I was gonna say that. Yeah. There's actually a line in the movie where he's like, "I know I laugh a lot, but it's because I'm so happy." And he's like, "No!" It's, it's so corny, but so funny, and like it fits into the movie perfectly. It's fucking hilarious. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
And it's actually produced by one of my Hong Kong heroes, Sammo Hung, and he's also in this movie. Ah, I don't know really where to start with this movie because I'm really excited to talk about it, and everything in this movie is just so badass. I remember the first time watching it, as I said, probably about 15 years ago. I was just like, my mind was blown. Just how they are going at it with the action scenes and okay, well, let's just talk about our favorite scenes. I think we both have two
Yeah.
favorite scenes. I think the one in the airport
Amazing. Great scene.
and the end fight is amazing.
The end fight's my favorite scene in the whole movie. It was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was wow. It was badass. But yeah, like Son was saying, this whole movie is based. You don't really see Cynthia Rothrock's character until probably like a half hour or so in the movie. The beginning kind of sets up Michelle Yeoh's character, and then you get Rothrock later, and how she's introduced is really cool, and I really like that scene too. That's part of the airport scene Sana's talking about. Like, basically, here's like a little summation of the plot. Like Sana
Yeah,
said,
you do it.
there's microfilm, right? What happens is there's this mob boss, the guy who goes, "Oh," this laughing guy. Anyway, what's trying to happen is they're trying to get this forgery of this deal to go through. So they forge this paper that basically is a contract that like divvies out like millions of dollars to this corporation. So they forge it because the original person who was supposed to sign it decides he doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want to sign it. And I guess he's like this accountant or something that actually I think Michelle Yeoh has like a relationship with or something. So when Michelle is like the beginning introduces like the robbery and all that stuff, and there's like a bunch of gunfighting and people get like shot and killed in the beginning right after the guy like flashes Michelle Yeoh's character and all that shit goes down. But she goes back to the precinct, the Hong Kong police precinct, the Royal Hong Kong Police, and she says she wants to go on vacation. Like she's had enough of this shit. There's a robbery going on. I just want to go on vacation. And I think Mr. Wong is like the chief of police, and he's basically like, no. You're not going on vacation. There's a prostitution thing coming up. It's really big. We need you to handle the situation. And she's like, it'll be here when I get back. It's going to take forever. Just let me go on vacation. I want to go now. So she goes to this hotel where this accountant guy, apparently who she's having like a relationship with, is staying. And when she shows up, it looks like he's asleep. But what happened is right before that, there was a scene where this assassin who works for this Mr. 10 guy comes in with a silenced pistol and offers him money for the microfilm because there's evidence used against this other guy's forging bullshit. And the accountant's like, no. He's like, if I was younger, I would have done this, but I'm not doing this anymore. It's not right. So he pulls out the pistol and he's like, you're going to fucking take the money or I'm going to kill you. And he's like, I'll scream if you do. So he doesn't scream. The assassin dude literally dips like this 45 cal with the silencer on it into an apple, puts the apple in the guy's mouth and pulls the trigger and kills him.
The apple.
Like, it's a cool fucking scene. Like, it really is. And then these thieves are also like this side plot in the movie. There's like 3 thieves who just pickpocket people. And they come in like with these busboy uniforms and sneak into the room after the assassin's like out on the seal because he hears somebody coming. The guy's like, room service. And he goes and hides on the windowsill. And he comes in because what these thieves do is they steal passports, and then their one friend like creates these counterfeit passports and sells them to criminals and makes money off of it. Like what they're trying to do is they're trying to buy Sammo Hung's in the movie. He has like a cameo scene in it. He's like in this old folks home and they're trying to buy him a flat. So they're forging all these passports and pickpocketing shit so they can get their old master like a house, so they can get him out of this like basically like this old folks home so he has a place to live. But they're funny as hell. Like these three characters are hilarious.
Just the names in general doesn't. It's already just really like you have aspirin,
Panadol.
Yeah, and Strepsil.
Yeah, yep. They're just weird names. And they're the goofiest dudes ever. Like they're so over the top, like cartoony like characters, but they make the movie hilarious. Like there's every scene with them in it is fucking funny as hell. They're funny as hell. Like Panadol's place where he makes all the passports and shit is like this like trap room. He has like all these little traps that move around, and he's like shooting people with fire extinguishers and fucking it's hilarious. You guys have to watch like the scenes with that because it's like a little danger room he created because he's just so quirky and goofy. It's funny as hell.
It's very typical 80s Hong Kong movie because you see it happening in a lot of other movies where, you know, the rooms are just like, what? It's just awesome.
Yeah, it is. The movie's very 80s. Like it really captures the martial arts of the 70s. Like we talked about, like Enter the Dragon. It really has that really awesome, strong martial arts component. And also the really strong, like John Woo-esque Hong Kong gun stuff that's in it. But like Sana said, it really captures the 80s, just like feel like you get the music, the soundtrack's like really synthy, like 80s. It's really quirky and goofy. Like Sana and I grew up in the 80s, well, the 90s, but like
90s.
we were born in the 80s. So we kind of got a little bit of that, and that was still going on when we were alive too, sort of. So you get that kind of like old school feel when you watch it, and it's refreshing. It's neat to see it. It's a cool.
Yeah, I was looking up the name of the guy that got killed, Norden, I believe, because I cannot even read my own handwriting. But he is from the English police something, and so he gets killed. So this investigation starts, and my God, what's her name again? I'm sorry, people. Carrie Morris.
Yeah. Carrie Morris.
So they actually stole Mr. What was it, Norton? I can't remember.
They counted Mr. Norton. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have his passport, and they take it to what's his name again? Panadol. Yeah. So you see him messing around with this passport, and you see that the microfilm is behind the pass photo, but he sticks it on his light thing, and he already puts another picture on it because he says he already has a buyer for the passport. And there is, I don't know who it was again, but there's someone that's like calling the police, like a tip, like, you know, his passport will be used at the airport, whereas Michelle Yeoh, she goes to the airport with an entire police squad just to see who bought it, to figure out who behind the murder of her colleague, boyfriend, whatever. And it's a flight to Tokyo. And, it's so badass. Like a fight already starts right away. And Michelle Yeoh is just so amazing. Like she stands her ground right away against this guy. I mean, for me, it's like you can see the guy is kind of powerful and really good at what he does. And then she just kicks, and so badass. And typical Hong Kong standard, everything has to break, including their own fucking bones. So you see glass breaking, like everything just. And they start running around in the airport because they want to find this guy because they think he knows who's behind it and all that stuff. And he grabs this woman just at random. He tries to choke her with his necklace. And the police stand in front of her, including Michelle Yeoh, and incoming Cynthia Rothrock being a badass. Like the only time she doesn't use her leg, she does it with her elbow just to like, and then she does this really cool kick against the head. Like she just stands there and she just like the leg goes way up. I'm like, whoa! And she just starts fighting, like just with all the kicks she does. Like she just takes him out, I think, with like 4 or 5 kicks. But you probably know more about it than I do, like what style it is, whatever. So.
Oh yeah. What Sana's saying, like what happens is there's thieves who take the passport. They go to their master in this like place, and the scene with that's hilarious too. There's like this caretaker comes in, and it's like zooming in on her chest because when she comes into the room, you think these like old guys are trying to like take her shirt off to like see her chest, but actually she brings in like this chicken, and all they want to eat is this chicken because they're not allowed to have like oily food because they have like high cholesterol or whatever. So and they grab her from behind, and instead of like taking her shirt off, like you think what's going to happen is they rush and grab this chicken off the tray and just start eating this chicken. It's hilarious. And Sammo Hung is the guy who's these 3 thieves masters. Well, the 3 thieves come in shortly after that and bring him like food and like stuff. And what happens is he gives them advice and says, you guys need to talk to the police, or you guys are probably, he's like, you guys are going to go to jail, but before it gets really, really bad, you should probably notify the authorities. So Panadol calls and he says, hey, look, there's going to be a guy coming up, like the anonymous tip Sana was talking about, who's going to be using this passport. So Michelle Yeoh takes the police force to the airport, and then the one guy who had the passport is this martial artist she ends up confronting, and he goes behind Cynthia Rothrock as he's running through the airport. You don't even know it's her at first. Like the scene's really quick. You think it's some like lady, and then all of a sudden she beats his ass. And you're like, oh shit, that's the Scotland Yard detective, Carrie Morris, played by Cynthia Rothrock, and she beats the shit out of him. But yeah, as far as martial arts concerned in this movie is, Cynthia Rothrock is a 8th degree black belt in Tung Sudo, the art I practice, and she's a black belt in Taekwondo. She's a black belt in Eagle Claw. She's a black belt in Wushu. She's a black belt in Karate. She's a black belt in 2 or 3 other styles too that I can't think of off the top of my head. But a lot of the kicks that she does in this movie, like especially the airport scene and like later in the final battle, they're more focused on Taekwondo and Tung Sudo, because Taekwondo and Tung Sudo, in particular Taekwondo, is really flashy and really fast and really agile, and it uses a lot of kicks to the head. Usually Taekwondo is like, remember how I said in our previous stream, Enter the Dragon, Jiu or Jeet Kune Do, whatever you want to call it, was more in the lower part because that's what Bruce Lee thought was how it should be done. Taekwondo is like the opposite of that. It's like you focus everything, and it's usually like 80% of the art is kicks. There's not really too many punches in it, but it's from the torso up to the head, and it involves a lot of spinning kicks too. Like that's a staple of Taekwondo, spinning kicks. So like you'll see Cynthia Rothrock and Michelle Yeoh do like a shitload of spinning kicks in this movie, because that's like what the style really focuses on, is like using speed and quickness and agility to overcome your opponent. Even the stances they fight in, like in Tung Sudo, the traditional art I practice, we had a really grounded, really balanced stance. In Taekwondo, it's a little more like, you can even see like Cynthia and Michelle Dovey. There's ones like side by side, they slap each other, like let's kick their ass, and their style. I was like, so they have a lot more fluidity and movement when they're fighting, because they obviously Michelle Yeoh didn't really do martial arts before, but I'm sure that when she worked with Cynthia Rothrock and Sammo Hung and all those guys, and he made her learn specific styles, probably Wushu and Taekwondo, Tung Sudo. So that really loose style is for agility and speed. And I'll tell you what, these 2 women are fast as shit in this movie. Like the stuff that they do and some of the choreography, like Sana was talking about, it's insanely quick. Whereas like Bruce Lee was about economy of motion, not exerting yourself. This is like a different philosophy. It's a different kind of martial arts philosophy. It's like, we need to hit these people with as much shit as we can before they overpower us. And that's the distinction between the Enter the Dragon stuff that we watch is more slow and fluid and then explosive towards the end, where you kind of wear your opponent out. This is like you wear your opponent out by being quicker and faster than them instead of intercepting them. That's the difference between the arts. So it's really cool, like as a martial arts person, to watch this, because you can clearly see the distinct styles that are in the movies. It's fucking sweet.
And they probably thought of that, the whole fast thing of attacking them, because they are women and they want to make them really look powerful. So I guess that was the reason behind that style or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert. I'm just telling you. That's why it's cool that Joe's here, because he has a lot of knowledge about almost fucking anything. I'm just saying. But
A little bit.
And also right away the chemistry between Cynthia Rothrock's character and Michelle Yeoh is just right away, as typical women, bitchy, like, oh, is this the officer that I that you talked about? Oh, is this her? And it just doesn't really work out. But it's so cool to see the development going in some sort of like camaraderie, if that's the word, especially at the end, when they're like, already in the car, when they're like, let's go. But when they take the guy from the airport to the police station, and you have this, once again, it's like a battle between women, like who does it better. Michelle Yeoh is more like a friendly, approachable, trying to get information out of him, whereas Cynthia is like, if that's how you do it in Hong Kong, this is how we do it in, Scotland or England. And I think that scene is so cool because it's so dark, and it's really just the spotlight is on those two characters. I really thought, from a cinematic point of view, that is just awesome. It's the cigarette slapping it, and you see her like in the back, and over in her back she does like, it hurts, because she has like a burning stain on her head. And then when they're Michelle Yeoh and the other police guy are like looking like, you think this is going all right? Oh no, she's just slapping him. Okay, let's go in.
Yeah, they're like standing at the bars. What, like Cynthia Rothrock's doing like an interrogation, and like Sana said, Michelle Yeoh is trying to be really nice, like a nice cop. Like, listen, if you tell us what's going on, everything's gonna be okay. We'll reduce your sentence. Blah 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 blah. And Cynthia's like, no, I'm gonna beat your ass. And she starts to act like she's a nice person at first, and gives him like a cigarette, and he starts smoking it, and then he says some wisecrack bullshit. He's like, you can't hit me, haha. And she's like, oh really? And then she punches him in the mouth. And he like pretty much swallows the cigarette, and his fucking face is on fire. There's like a burn mark on his face. And she starts kicking the shit out of him. And then right outside the interrogation room, like Sana said, is Michelle Yeoh's character and this other police officer. And Michelle Yeoh's like asking, like, what's going on in there? And he's like, well, right now they're fighting. And then she's like, you see what it looks like. And they open the door and walk in, and she's like beating the shit out of this guy. And it's pretty awesome.
Such dry humor. It's so me in a way.
It is. Like, it's funny as hell, though. You have to watch it. Like, it's really, really cool. And I think I read somewhere, too, that, like, this is the first movie that a lot of people, like, film critics, look back on as one of the first movies that cemented, like, the subculture of the girls with guns thing. There was, like, a big thing that happened in Hong Kong, like, after that. Like, a lot of movies that were, like, really strong female leads with, like, guns and martial arts stuff. And this was like the first movie that did that. So I think that's really cool. It's like, it's badass. Because if you think about how many years it took from like Bruce Lee and even like the Akira Kurosawa films with samurais, like in the 50s and 60s, it's almost like 30 years removed for women to actually have a name to be like, we're just as fucking badass as you, So that's a big milestone. And when you watch it, these women, like I said earlier, are fucking badass. Like, they will beat your ass. Don't fuck with them. They will kick your ass. Like, they're strong.
And I think we definitely have to, give credit to Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung, because they really introduced badass women in movies, even if it's just like small things. They had to do their own stunts, and they really had to practice hard for it. And also, I think just in this movie, because Golden Harvest discovered Cynthia Rothrock when she was in some sort of tournament of her martial arts, and they were interested in her, and they're like, you want to do like 3 movies for us in Hong Kong? And she agreed to do it. And Yes, Madam was her first movie, and she did 2 other Hong Kong movies with Golden Harvest. It's just, and as I told you earlier, Enter the Dragon really is like a gateway that it opened doors for China, because I think China was the first one to do it in all of Asia, to actually bring foreigner fighters into their movies and be like putting a spotlight on them. As I told you before, you have this other guy in Dragons Forever, Benny, who was also this martial artist in real life, and even a few more. But for me, Cynthia Rothrock really just stands out because, she's a woman, and she knows her shit. I mean, it's not like a lot of people of today complain that there are not a lot of powerful women in movies. But let's be honest, if you put Cynthia Rothrock against any of the current like action ladies from America or from American movies, it just doesn't mean shit. They just fade away. Basically.
No, you're right. I think that I think another thing, when you were talking about that, it made me think of something. Like, I think a lot of people, you mentioned Enter the Dragon, and even that scene at the beginning with like his sister fighting those henchmen at the beginning, she obviously stabbed herself with that piece of glass, but like that was like sort of like a introduction to it, but it didn't really put a strong lead on that character. You know what I mean? She was kind of like removed too soon. Where this is kind of like it's about the women. You know, they're badasses, and I think that like I'm guilty of it too. Like even myself, like I'm sitting here, obsessed over Bruce Lee for years, and I heard Cynthia Rothrock's name before, and I knew a little bit about her, but as far as like her, if somebody says Bruce Lee or somebody says Cynthia Rothrock, everybody's gonna know who Bruce Lee is, right?
Yeah.
And like nobody's really gonna know to a certain extent about Cynthia Rothrock, and I think therein lies a little bit of the problem. It's like that's just how culture used to be. Like I'm glad it's better now, but movies like this, like Yes, Madam, and I mean, if you look at Cynthia Rothrock's filmography, she's done like 40 or 45 movies that are like Yes, Madam. I mean, they're all like martial arts because that's what she is. Like she's a huge martial artist. She's black belt in like 7 or 8 different martial arts. But nobody talks about those movies. Nobody talks about like all the cool movies she did because like finally society's changing to the point where it's like, okay, look, these people were fucking badasses too. Like, need to show them representation. And I'm sure Sana would agree with me when we say, like, the reason we showcase to do this movie, well, actually, this is Sana's. Sana wanted to do this, and, like, I'm glad I watched it, is because we want you guys to know about this shit. Like, we want you to know that there's other badass people out there besides, like, Bruce Lee. Like, I love Bruce Lee, but there's more people out there who are just as badass and took a lot of inspiration from people like Bruce Lee and, like she said, Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and all these people. So it isn't just one guy. There's a lot of them out there, and it's not just guys; it's girls too. And these two women in this movie, as I've said now probably 4 or 5 times, and I won't quit saying it throughout the entire stream because they're fucking amazing. Like they literally are. They do their own shit, like their own stunts. Like it's amazing. It's some of the scenes in here, like with broken glass and shit. Like I don't know how many glass tables they had to purchase for this movie. They broke fucking so many of them. Like 300, 400 tables. The poor guy who had to clean up the movie set was probably sweeping up glass for like 3 weeks.
If it was released today, it would probably have that meme like, how many glass do you want in this movie? Yes. That is Hong Kong cinema from the 80s. Oh, I mean, in the 70s, what I always noticed, well, they also had a lot of things that were being broken because obviously things have to be broken. But also it was more to focus on, dust flying around. Like just one footstep already had like the whole fucking Sahara going up. It's really ridiculous. And you also see it a bit in here, but with, Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung taking over Hong Kong cinema after Bruce Lee, they had their taste and then they really started to develop, and Jackie Chan became huge in the late 70s. They really just set a whole new standard. And I mean, as I said before, if I think about women today in movies, I mean, it's cool. You have a Charlize Theron that she learns a choreography for a movie and that's it. And of course she looks badass, but you have a Cynthia Rothrock who knows her shit. She is martial arts. Unfortunately, she didn't have the career because I really feel like it's the same with Jackie Chan movies. As I told you earlier, Jackie Chan in China is amazing. Any Chinese movie that he does, well, not all of them, but because he did like 100 a year or something like that. But I don't say that all of his movies are great, but his movies in Hong Kong, they have a charm to it. Whereas where he came to America, I find it less because they try to incorporate the humor that he kind of has in his Hong Kong movies, but it just doesn't work. And the same thing happened, unfortunately, with Cynthia Rothrock. And I haven't seen her American movies just yet. I've seen a few trailers, but this was like during the 90s where the superhero guys or the action stars were kind of slowly dying out. So unfortunately for her, she became part of that. But there will definitely be more Cynthia Rothrock stories. I'm telling you, she is such a badass.
She is, absolutely. That was a good point too, son. I kind of want to add something to that. You know, it's funny because if you're looking at this from like a historical standpoint and like the era itself, like in the 70s, we talked about Enter the Dragon, like Bruce Lee actually quit filming Game of Death to go do that movie because he realized the importance of it. Like, I'm going to be working with people from a different culture, and this is going to expose me to the West, which is going to make me huge. And it did. I mean, it really did. And the thing with that is, like, the timing was perfect for that because you had the civil rights movement, African Americans and blacks and all that stuff were getting a lot, you know, there was some bad shit that went down over here, you know, in the United States. It was bad. But finally, with like movies like Enter the Dragon and stuff, actors and stuff like that were getting accepted. They were getting roles, you know? And with women, sadly, like I said, that didn't happen until later. Even if I can, I was watching a documentary on Bruce Lee the other day, and he even said, like, because Sana brought up the example with Jackie Chan of how his Hong Kong stuff is just legendary. Like, it's amazing. But then you bring him over to America, and it's kind of like a watered down version of his true potential, you know? And I think part of that was what kind of reminded me of what Bruce Lee said in this interview he did. He was like, everybody wanted me to play like this typical Chinese guy. Like, I'm there for the comic relief. Like, I'm the dumb, quote unquote, dumb Chinese person. Whereas, like, Bruce Lee is a super intelligent man. Same thing with Jackie Chan. Same thing with Michelle Yeoh. Same thing with Cynthia Rothrock, you know, and it's super intelligent people, super intelligent men and women, you know. And I think that it was kind of like a sexist and a racist thing just at that time. And then eventually, once those barriers started to break down, you saw how much the community really embraced it. But like Sana said, I think they really, really embraced it over in Hong Kong, where they had a bunch of foreigners and stuff coming over. And over here, it was still like, even thinking about my childhood, I didn't even know who Jet Li was. The first Jet Li movie I saw was Lethal Weapon 4. Jet Li in it. And I knew nothing about, you know, his earlier movies like Once Upon a Time in China and all that other stuff he did, because I only knew Bruce Lee. And why did I know Bruce Lee? Because he was in American movies. Enter the Dragon, probably. And then I found his stuff, and then later a bunch of other stuff. But people don't show you that stuff on the surface. It's kind of like you have to dig really hard for it, just like this. That's what we're talking about. Like, if it wasn't for Sana, I probably never would know anything about this movie. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's still a political thing if you want to bring in a little bit like of politics. I still think to this day that a lot of Asians are being discriminated, but no one talks about it. I mean, when Corona started, so many people were blaming the Chinese, and you're not allowed to say that, right? Like, because then you get all these other like activists who say, no, but this is more important. And the same thing goes for movies. For example, currently with the Mulan thing, I mean, there is some stuff going on with the movie. I don't want to touch upon that, but I find it kind of like ironic how an Asian movie will not make it into theaters. It's just like, oh no, it will be put on streaming. They could have put Black Widow on streaming. No, it has to be, it just happens to be an Asian movie. And if you really think of only now, luckily with, you know, K-pop becoming popular, you know, a lot of people are starting to look at Asia. So you have a lot of Korean movies that are slowly being brought to here. I believe there are a shitload on Netflix and stuff like that. So luckily it's being introduced through that. but I still think it's lacking so much. If you, especially Chinese movies, because if you think about Chinese, as I said last week, I was talking about the movie of Sammo Hung with Donnie Yang, Sao Pola or something. That is such a badass movie. That could actually like be played at cinema across the world. It is just such a great movie, but it doesn't happen because once again there is this border going on, like, oh, but it's Asian, therefore meh. It's the same thing when someone is saying, I'm learning Japanese, I'm learning Chinese, I'm learning Korean. It's like, why are you learning that? But if you say Spanish, it's like, oh yeah, Spanish, yeah, see, that is normal. But as soon as you say like something Asian related, it's just like, I don't understand.
I don't either, and that's a really good point too, because it makes me think of the title of the movie. Like I know I think the UK or somewhere over in London or somewhere called it Police Assassins, and that's what they named it, Police Assassins for. But I prefer the title Yes, Madam, because it really reflects the movie. Like whoever decided to call the movie Yes, Madam and call it that was a genius, because it really embodies the whole purpose of the movie. The whole purpose of the movie is like the officers in there actually respect like Michelle Yeoh's character. They respect Cynthia Rothrock's character, even though they're like her subordinates, because they're like the head investigators in their departments respectively in this movie. Like even the name Police Assassins, like it makes you think of like a male policeman, like off the top of your head. If you heard that, like without knowing anything about this movie, but Yes, Madam, when you hear that, you're like, Madam has to be about a woman, right? It has to be about women.
Yeah.
Like that's a really whoever decided to retitle it that or make the name Yes, Madam. I love that name, because in the movie, all of the subordinates for these two detectives, Michelle Yeoh's character and Cynthia Rothrock's, they're all saying Yes, Madam. Like when they tell them, give them orders and stuff, they're like Yes, Madam, Yes, Madam, Yes, Madam, hello, Madam, how are you, Madam? Like it shows the respect that they're equals. They're equals. There is no divisiveness or sexism between either of them. I mean, there's still sexism in the movie because some of the people don't see that. Like the bad guys don't see that they're like, oh, these are just women, huh? And then they get their asses beat, right? But
Yeah.
that's the whole point of the movie. Like women will beat your ass too. Don't think that men are superior, because they're not. Everybody's equal, you know. Like treat everybody equal is the whole point of the movie too. Like that very easily could have been Jackie Chan and Jet Li in the lead role, but it wasn't. It was, you know, Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock, who fucking kicked ass. They destroyed it. It was awesome. So check the movie out because it's fucking amazing. Yeah.
It really is. And once again, I think really that, you know, Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung really opened doors for a lot of things in the Hong Kong cinema when it comes to, you know, different cultures, women fighting. It's badass. And once again, if you're going to talk about politics today, I think a lot of people should be focusing more on like martial arts movies, because you have powerful women in movies already. God damn it. Even though it's from the 80s, but they were already doing it in the 80s, people.
But I think it goes back to what we talked about before, Son, about just martial arts in general. I can even remember when I was in martial arts, we had female instructors. I had female instructors who were black belts who taught me karate too, you know? And we always showed them the same respect. We didn't say yes, madam. We said ma'am, but it reminded me of that watching the movie. It was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You know, we didn't look at them as subordinates or lesser or anything like that. Martial arts really taught you that everybody was equal and these people are here to train with you. And I mentioned it before, like when I taught my classes, I taught female students as well, you know, and they were amazing. Like I had amazing students, male, female, younger generation, older generation. It doesn't matter, you know. Everybody, like you said, watch more martial arts movies because really people need to take a lesson from that. You know, it's
the diversity is in there.
Yeah, and the thing is, the diversity is there, but it's also the fact that like some people need to kind of like not see it as diverse either and see it more as like we're all one thing.
Yeah.
When we practice that art, Tung Sudo, we were all Tung Sudo practitioners, even though we weren't the same. Like we were all martial artists. Like that was the point. Like you're here doing the same thing I am. You're struggling the same way I am. You're learning the same way I am. It's like the whole purpose of even higher education and like university. You go to a university to study because it's a universe that everybody's going to. We go into the same universe to study whatever you want to study. And we're all one here, right? That's the point of it. Right? So it kind of reminds me of, I know this is kind of cliche, but Game of Thrones. You ever watch Game of Thrones? There's a line I love in that. And they're like, we need to take 5 armies down to overthrow this empire. And he's like, no, we're not branching stuff up into 5 armies. He's like, what we need is 1 army. It's stronger that way. We can hammer everybody out if we all work together. That's the whole point. Like, I don't know. It's a strategy thing. It's Sun Tzu. It's, Miyamoto Musashi. It's martial arts. Right?
So let me check my notes real quick. Ooh. As we were talking about before the stream, you have aspirin and strepsil. They realize they are in deep shit. At one point, they really want to get arrested.
That's cool.
There is this one particular scene. It starts with you have an officer and someone that you probably know the word better than I do, but he just only does the fine for cars that are parked longer. Like once it goes red, you really see the face turn like, oh, it's red. We can sign another one. And they start this fight with each other, more like a verbal fight. And then everybody starts to surround him a bit. And then in comes aspirin and strepsil. Strepsil, right?
Yeah.
Because I want strap on, but that's something different.
That wasn't in this movie, son.
No.
That must have been something from you were watching, last night.
That was another, but that was a Japanese movie.
Yeah.
Hold on. They really want to get arrested, so they're like, please arrest us. They're like, for what? Or just arrest us, we're like in danger. And so the cop guy's like, if you beat him up, I'll arrest you. So they start walking towards that guy. That guy, the officer makes the mistake by saying like, yeah, if they beat up a cop, they will get arrested and thrown in jail or something like that. So then the moment that they just turn around like, oh, so we should be actually beating up you. And people are probably like, the fuck she's talking about? But I'm pretty sure Joe can tell you better.
Yeah, basically what happens, guys, is these people who are forging the passports are in deep shit because they pretty much took that piece of microfilm like Sarn was talking about from this big mob boss, like criminal guy. And he has like hitmen who go out and kill people. So there's this one guy, the guy who killed the accountant in the first place we talked about earlier, who was dating Michelle Yeoh's character. He pretty much tracks these guys down to try to get this piece of microfilm because they've been identified by Panadol as the people who have the microfilm. So the police find him first, and this assassin's kind of like behind the scenes, and he ends up tracking him down himself as well. So it's corny and it's funny and it's cheesy, but these 3 thieves come to the conclusion that, hey, look, there's some incriminating evidence on here. What happens is the piece of microfilm that was stuck on Panadol's spotlight while he makes the passports, they came back to like basically tell him, hey, we're in deep shit. It's all your fault because of the passport. Why did you give it away? You ratted us out. You told police, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I had to stay in quarantine or whatever for 48 hours and wouldn't let me out of the jail cell, blah, blah, blah. And then as he's like yelling at them, he turns on the wall and says, hey, wait. And he sees the reflection of the microfilm like through the light projected on the wall. And he realizes that it's the microfilm of these forged contracts that basically told the person to pay the person the money even though he wasn't going to. So all 3 of them were kind of like, they hated each other there for a second. It's like this back and forth hate relationship. Oh, we hate you. Oh, we like you. Oh, we hate you. Oh, we like you. Well, Strepsil is the only one who kind of has a conscience. He's like, we need to get this to the authorities or we're screwed, blah, blah, blah. So they kind of like Panadol and aspirin play this game with Strepsil and pretend that like they gave him the real piece of film and it's actually a fake piece of microfilm. So when he takes to the authorities, which he does, then Cynthia Rothrock and Michelle Yeoh start to go after Mr. Tin to basically, because Strepsil does a confession like, hey, look, this is the piece of microfilm that has this forged contract. It's Mr. Tin. He's behind all this shit. He's the one who killed the accountant. He did all this. He did all that. So before they even use the evidence, they're badass women, right? So like, we're going to go bring this motherfucker down. So they go try to confront him and put him in jail, and they cuff him and everything, and he goes with them willingly because Panadol calls him and says, hey, by the way, that piece of film that they have isn't the real film. I have the real shit here at my place. So he's laughing. His ha ha ha, his laugh. He goes down to the police station, and the lawyer's like threatening to sue the detectives and the whole like Royal Hong Kong Police Department because they're pretty much accusing him of stuff and they have no evidence to prove it. So what happens is then he gets released. Mr. Tin, the big bad boss guy, goes back to his house, his fucking whatever, his flat, his villa, whatever it is, and sends his assassin to where the phone call came from, which was Panadol's apartment. So the assassin goes there to confront Panadol and get the actual piece of film because he knows he has it. Because what Panadol and Aspirin are trying to do is bribe Mr. Tin to get a shitload of money for the piece of film. But obviously he's a crime lord, so he figures, I'm just going to send my assassin there to kidnap these guys, hold them hostage or kill them, and just take the film and destroy it. Then nobody will ever know. I won't lose any money. I don't need to worry about anything. So in the whole struggle, spoiler alert, by the way, here, Panadol ends up getting shot, and he's dying. And as Strepsil comes to confront him for giving him the fake piece of microfilm for the police, he realizes he's dying. And then Panadol confesses to him where the actual real piece is and all this shit. So in the meantime, Aspirin tries to do the same fucking thing. He goes to Mr. Tin dressed up in this like flashy suit, and he's like, I have the real piece, haha. You're going to pay me a shitload of money, or this is going to get out to the authorities, and my partner's going to tell, blah, 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 blah. So meanwhile, Strepsil's like, I think he was in the bathtub or something. All this stuff goes on like simultaneously at the same point. So they basically, these goons who are in this house, Aspirin's being like a really like cocky asshole. So Mr. Tin's like, oh, you're going to be a tough guy, huh? I'm just going to throw you in a room and lock you up there and hold you hostage until I get the real piece. So that's what he does. And then that's when Strepsil finds Panadol dying. He dies, tells him where the real piece of film is. And then after he dies, Strepsil goes like basically crazy. He goes upstairs and gets like, because Panadol had a bunch of fake shit. He was into like counterfeit black market shit. So he had like fake guns that looked real. He had like fake passports, fake grenades, all kinds of fake shit like in this box of like army boxes. So Strepsil straps like all this shit on, and Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock come to his apartment to try to like intercept him before he leaves. And he's like, I'm done with this shit. I'm gonna go save my friend, blah blah blah. And they just basically fucking let him go. And then while he goes and confronts all these people, it's a funny scene. Like, you have to watch it. He's pulling like all these fake guns and he's shooting people and they're getting hit with like rubber bullets and nothing's happening to him. And like, oh, your guns are yeah. And he's gonna throw a grenade and like everybody's hitting the deck like it's gonna explode, but it's like a fucking playing music, like it's a music box grenade. But then eventually there was actually a real gun in this thing. You see earlier in the movie. But all these guys don't think any of it's real or whatever. And then eventually Cynthia Rothrock's character and Michelle Yeoh quit. They resigned from the police because Mr. Wong, the guy's like, you guys botched the whole fucking investigation. You tried to frame Mr. Tin for all this shit and you didn't have any evidence, blah, blah, blah. So Michelle Yeoh's like, he basically tells her to go on vacation finally. And she's like, no, you can just take my badge. I resign. So she lays her badge and her gun down. And then obviously that's when Cynthia Rothrock and her become like super close because they're working this case together. And Cynthia's like, do I have to say it to you in English or am I going to do the same thing? And she puts like the gun and the badge down, runs downstairs, like this fire escape off the police precinct. And here comes Theo, like, getting ready to back out of the police precinct to the parking lot in her car. And right as she's ready to back out, she sees Cynthia coming down the fire escape, like, and standing there. And she's like, she looks at her and she's like, get in. And then Cynthia Rothrock jumps in the car. Then they go to Mr. Tin's house and they show up with unregistered firearms to basically stop him because they're like, we're going to solve the case ourselves. We're not going to let Wong fucking sabotage everything. And then that's when the whole big like fight shit happens. It's funny, but it's also really well choreographed. The stuff with Strepsil's fucking hilarious. but he fights too. Like he gets like these swords and these fight. It's funny. And then there's the martial arts scenes that are really, really well done with Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. They do a lot of really cool Taekwondo, Tung Sudo, Olympic competitive splits and spinning kicks and all kinds of grabs and grapples and all kinds of throwing techniques and all kinds of really cool shit. One of my favorite ones from Michelle Yeoh is when she first gets and she's fighting the henchman up on the top of the staircase, and there's like these glass panels, and she actually she puts herself through a glass panel and does like a somersault. But as she does the somersault through the glass panel, as she's actually in mid somersault, she grabs these two henchmen's legs and she yanks them through the glass as she's doing the somersault, and they fall like off the second story of the stairs down, basically dead. And she like just goes through the glass and pulls herself back up onto the banister. It's fucking sweet. It's a great scene.
Or when Cynthia Rothrock, she grabs that umbrella thing, and it's just the way that how she's moving that stick, and then later on how she's like with the split against the wall with the stick. Cynthia.
Yeah.
But before we geek out about the rest of the end fight, let's go to the comment section, because there are our trusty crew is here. We have Jeff. Hello. We have Sean in the house.
What's up, Sean? Louis, what's up, buddy?
Yeah. But I'm sorry, Sean. I was on it for 5 minutes for your stream, but I had to glam up and all that stuff, so I totally forgot to say hi. Martial law. Yeah, that is one of the American movies that she's in. And so definitely we will be doing also some of her American movies, because she's a badass. And luckily some of them are on YouTube, so we can watch it. Yes. But you have this one character in there. He kind of reminded me, even though this was before Commando coming out, the one with the eyebrows and with the knife. He really reminds me of the pervert from Commando in a way. Like also the way that is it, who was it that goes in the Hatuda? Is it the Strepsil that you were talking about? That was geared up.
Yeah, that's Strepsil. Yeah, he's the one he puts all the gear on. Yeah,
which kind of also reminded me of Commando. When Arnold Schwarzenegger starts to gear up, and because I think Commando is
Matrix.
Stick around.
John Matrix.
But he is quite a character, and this always happens in one of the 80s Hong Kong movies. There's always this exaggerated character in there, and he's really cool. And him and Michelle Yeoh are going at it, and he's like, "Oh, I don't need a knife to fight you," and then he actually loses the knife in the ceiling, and then he wants to reach it, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you didn't need a knife," just to show that he figures out pretty quickly that she is fucking badass, and he's gonna get his ass whooped.
No, you're right. That's a pretty definitive scene. Like, it just goes to show the whole title thing and all the stuff we were talking about with how women are fucking badass too, and they can be just as good martial artists as anybody else. And that's like a definitive scene that really describes that. Because actually, what he does is, when she says, "Oh, you need a knife to fight little with me," or whatever, just like fucking being like, "I'm a woman. You think you can beat a woman, huh?" He actually throws the knife up in the rafter. He's like, "I don't need a fucking knife. I'll beat you with my bare hands." And then she's like literally beating his ass. Like, she's kicking the shit out of the guy, and he's like, "Fuck, I need my knife." So he like reaches back up to get it and cuts her. And she's like bleeding, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you said you didn't need the knife." She still beats his ass.
It's awesome. They are really going at it, and she does this. Is it a kick that he falls off the thing into like the water fountain-ish that he with the glasses to go?
Yeah. What happens is, like, she's kicking his ass and he's getting pissed off. So he actually does get a couple good hits on her. Like, he hits her in the face a couple times with a couple kicks, and they're beating the shit out of each other. He actually does hit her pretty hard a couple times in the face, and I mean, it's a pretty decent fight. But then she starts to get the upper hand and really start like he's ready. He's pretty much like, fuck, I need this knife. So he grabs it and starts pursuing her with the knife, and she's dodging it and blocking it and doing this stuff. Well, she does this really cool like spin move where there's like this grand piano in the upper place where they're fighting. And she does like almost like a dance move because she was a dancer. It kind of looks like she does kind of like a dance move that's also very martial arts, like a split sort of. And she splits on top of this piano. And as he's trying to like stab her, when she does the split, her leg actually forces his hand down into the head of the piano, and his hand gets caught in there, and it's like stuck. His hand's like smashed in the piano, like the head of the piano thing, because of the move she did. So she's like literally like split out on this fucking top of the piano, and his hand's like smashed, and he's like, and then like Sana said, she does like this spin kick out of that move and hits him in the fucking head, and he goes through the glass of this like second tier thing we talked about before when she pulled the other two guys through, and he falls off of this thing because of the kick, and there's like this tower of just like glass objects there, and he hits like every piece of glass on the way down. There's like a dozen of them, and then he lands like this guy in his house. He was rich as hell, so he has like a fountain or some kind of like shit on the staircase that's this big ass fountain. And this dude, it looks like fucking Rambo with a mustache, Chinese Rambo with a mustache, is like laying there, and it shows him. And he has like glass in his eyes and his face and shit. He's basically showcasing like she beat his ass and he's dead now. So then to just showcase her badassery even more, as soon as she does that to him, Cynthia Rothrock is fighting that assassin who killed her, basically the person she was seeing, the accountant guy. And he's the guy who was chasing Strepsil and Aspirin, this other assassin. Cynthia Rothrock is beating his ass, and they're fighting each other. And Cynthia's like behind him, and he's like looking up the staircase. And as he's looking up the staircase to turn around to go back to attack Cynthia, Michelle Yeoh like runs down the staircase and does like this double front kick and just fucking nails the guy. Yeah. And then they both start fighting him. It was like, oh, sweet. And then they like double team his ass. It's great. It's a great scene.
Oh, it's so badass. And that's probably along with the similar kick that she does at the airport, the stunt that she didn't perform herself. Other than that, everything she did herself. I mean,
yeah, these women in this movie are, I mean, they're like in shape, like top tier athletes. Like Cynthia Rothrock, as we said, numerous black belts in various styles of martial arts, and like Sana said about Michelle Yeoh, you have to be in really, really, really tip-top shape to be a ballerina and a dancer. Like, you need to have really hardcore core strength. Like, you need to be able to move a certain way. Like, you see ballerina ends in the shit they do and have to stretch their legs above their head, hold them and shit. Be really flexible and in really good shape to be an artist or a dancer. And these two women in this movie are, like, the embodiment and the symbols of badass women. Like, they are fucking amazing in this movie. Like, they're beautiful women. They are beautiful women. They're beautiful, but they're also badass. They're strong. They're tough. They're in tip-top shape. And like I said numerous times now, don't fuck with them because they will kick your ass. Like, they seriously will. And you can see it in the movie. Like, they will kick your ass. And the thing that's great about them too is, here's another thing. I think it really shows that they care too, like, because they are women to a certain extent, and people kind of associate like women with the motherly aspects, like taking care of people. They really care about people in this movie too. Like, they look out for their fellow officers. They look out for each other. Like Sana said at first. At first, it was kind of like, hell with you. I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But once they kind of like got to know each other and they realized they were working for the common good to try to bring these like criminals to justice, they really cared about each other. And they even cared about these goofy thieves who were being like dickheads. They kind of like, they let them learn their lessons and get their ass beat a couple times. But at the end of the day, they didn't want to see them die. They really did care about them. So, yeah.
I really love that end part where you really saw them cooperating. Like when when Michelle Yeoh walks in that house together with Cynthia, where she's with the gun, how Cynthia's like pulling her away because this guy is jumping from on top of them, how they're really like helping each other out. And then at one point the door closes and they're like, I just kicked their ass. How they just like, the whole hand slap. Oh, that's just I just think it's so badass. I'm too excited to even like think straight right now of this movie. It's just so awesome. So thanks,
Yeah.
Joe, for taking over.
No, it's cool. You know what actually is another cool point too that I thought of watching the movie because I was doing some research on Cynthia. Um, Taekwondo, that martial art, they didn't really train with a lot of weapons at all. It's more focused on like your feet and kicks. They don't really do a lot of weapons training, and that's kind of like, from in my opinion, I think Tang Sudo excels at that a little bit more because we did weapons training. Like I have a sword, I have nunchucks, I have all that stuff I showed you guys last time. Taekwondo doesn't really do that. They're more just like straight up, kicking and with a little bit of jabbing and punching. It's more like hand and foot fighting as opposed to using weapons. But I wanted to showcase that too with the art because Cynthia Rothrock in real life, when she placed in tournaments and stuff in Taekwondo and Tang Soo Do, she won in forms which didn't use any weapons. Like her fighting style focused on the hand and the feet. And another thing about this movie that reflects her personal life is her and Michelle Yeoh. Like in the beginning, Michelle Yeoh uses a little weapons, but I can barely remember in the movie like hardly at all. Maybe a couple scenes where Cynthia used a gun, but when she was actually like fighting people, like a mass group of people, and even Michelle too, like they were just using their hands and their feet. They weren't using any weapons. And I think that's kind of interesting because that's really where Cynthia excelled at martial arts. Like she wasn't really a weapons fighter. Like you see Bruce Lee even Enter the Dragon use nunchucks. There was none of that in here. It was like just straight up hand and feet. Like I'm going to use my God-given gifts here, my hands and my feet, and in particular feet, because like I said, she's Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do influence. It was kind of interesting to see that develop. And then again, it strikes a chord with the whole thing, like with the guy with the knife. We us women, we don't need weapons, okay? We'll kick your ass without them. And that was the whole point of that scene. Like, you need a knife. The other guy was an assassin. He used a 45. He used a Colt 45 beaver-tailed ACP with a silencer on it when he killed the guy in the hotel, and he used a 45 throughout the movie. Back then in those days too, it was kind of cool to see this too because I'm a gun guy too.
Yeah, you're dropping names and like
Yeah,
what the heck?
Hong Kong police officers and even in the States, a lot of detectives and police officers use revolvers that were just a 6-shot. And you can see the characters that they have through the duration of the movie. Even the counterfeit guns that Panadol was making, they were all 6-shot revolvers because police use those because they were lightweight, and revolvers don't jam up. They fire because it's cylindrical shooting. Whereas like a 45 ACP, you have to put a cartridge and a magazine into the chamber and fire it, which was really neat to see that. So like even that kind of like historical connotation, because it took place in the 80s and the 70s, of actually depicting real life like firearms that police forces used during that time, was really neat to see. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
So
you're dropping knowledge here. Do you also
yeah.
happen to know what type of knife he was holding at the end?
Well, yeah, that knife. It
Oh
was
God,
actually,
really?
yeah, it's actually a combat. It's actually a combat bayonet knife that they used to use in Vietnam. They used to take those bayonets. Actually, Colt made them, and so did Smith and Wesson. That's why he was kind of dressed up like Rambo too. And if you looked at the hilt of the knife that he was holding, it was kind of like a greenish color. They used to use that when they were in the jungle and stuff in like World War II or in Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam. You would take that. There's a lug on it. You actually put it into the barrel of your firearm. Back then in Vietnam, it was an M16 or an AR-15. Then you would stab people with it if you came into close quarters. Because if you watch World War II, you ever see the movie Letters from Iwo Jima, directed by Clint
Not
Eastwood?
yet.
In
It's
World
just
War
been 2 weeks
II,
ago.
Japanese like fighters in World War II would actually approach people with samurai swords. And the only thing that the soldiers from like the States or whatever would encounter them with when they were fighting that they had were the bayonet. So some of the guys would put the bayonet onto the lug of the end of their gun and actually try to deflect the samurai sword with a knife, So it came out to be a versatile thing that was implemented, but you're not going to stop a Japanese soldier with a samurai sword. It's just not happening. But
another knowledge that I didn't know.
yeah,
This is the school of CinemAsian with our sensei
school.
or Shifu
Yeah.
Joe. That's pretty cool. I thought that you wouldn't know about the knife, but of course, how could I doubt you?
Yeah. I know a lot of shit. Useless information.
Yeah.
That's all up here, you know.
Oh, I have a lot of useless information too, but yeah, you guys are here, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm not just excited, but I'm also my period, and I can't think straight. And oh my god.
Nah, you're cool. We got a lot of cool shit to talk about. I mean, we did a good job so far. The thing about this movie too is it's really short. It's only like an hour and a half. It's like an hour and 25, an hour and a half.
Yeah, before you know it, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, really about the ending, Sona. Tell me about the ending. Let's talk about that for a second. Were you kind of like shocked by that? Because this is the first time I saw a movie and I was like, what? That's how it ends? I'm not saying it was bad. It was just like unexpected. I did not think that's how it was going to happen. I just thought, like, really?
I thought it was pretty cool because here we have Tin Tien. Tien. I always think of the Bruce Lee movies. Chen. He basically gets away with everything because the microfilm is being destroyed, and basically the lawyer's like, huh. And the guy is forever laughing. Joe's new favorite laugh, I'm pretty sure. Strepsil is telling Aspirin, like, the other guy, I can't think of the name right now, he died. He got killed by him.
Yeah.
And he basically like starts losing his shit. And this is probably, I think, the ending that you want, because I think if you would have just gotten in and just drove off, you're like, okay, so this guy will be released and shit will go down again. He basically starts shooting the guy like a gun that actually worked from what's his name? Panadol? That was my brain dropping.
Yeah. Well, here's what happens.
Yeah, you explain it better.
Remember when we were talking and I said that Michelle Yeoh's character drop kicking that assassin guy who was attacking Cynthia Rothrock's character. Then they both start fighting him. Well, what happened is at the same time this happens, Mr. Tin realizes they're getting the upper hand, and after they're fighting them, he had Aspirin held hostage, like I said, because he went in there all tough, like he was going to get money for this microfilm or whatever. So this assassin somehow gets the microfilm off of Strepsil because he put it in his mouth to like swallow it to like threaten him. And basically that was the dumbest thing ever because like they want the film to be destroyed, so there's no evidence. Yeah. So what happens is,
even when he says, I'll burn it with the lighter, he's like, oh, yeah, do it. You're doing me a favor.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is to intercept this shit, Strepsil was also fighting them in the meantime while Cynthia and Michelle are fighting as well. So they're all kind of fighting at the same time. After most of the goons are defeated and the army guy gets his ass whooped, and then Michelle goes to help Cynthia take out basically this last assassin guy besides Mr. Tin. Somehow, Strepsil is going to rush up to save Aspirin, who Mr. Tin has, and he has like a knife to his neck and says, if you come any closer, I'm going to kill him. So Strepsil's like, no, don't kill him. So the assassin guy ends up like just kind of like getting Cynthia and Michelle off of him for a split second, and he ends up intercepting Strepsil, getting the film out of his tongue. And he takes the film and he like jams it into this like overhead light, and it combusts because it's a piece of microfilm and it just burns. Well, during that scene where the film like combusts and explodes, Aspirin's able to get away from Mr. Tin's grasp of the knife, and he jumps like off the balcony. And what he does is when he falls, Strepsil had the gun that was actually a real gun, but he didn't know it was real. So when he falls, Aspirin ends up landing like on the ground, like on the staircase, and he grabs the gun. And he goes to turn the gun to the assassin who starts to approach him now after he just burned the thing. And the guy's approaching him because he thinks it's fake. Like I said, when Strepsil first showed up, he had like a bunch of fake bullshit. Like everybody thought he was just joking around. So Aspirin goes to use the gun and he pulls the trigger and it hits him and it's real. It's like the real gun. So this assassin guy's like, oh shit. And he gets shot. And then he fires the gun again and shoots him. Well, what happens is then after that assassin gets killed and Aspirin's out of Mr. Tin's hands, Mr. Wong, the chief of police of Hong Kong, shows up at this place and they end up taking Cynthia, Michelle, Aspirin, Strepsil, Mr. Tin, all of them into custody. So they take him down to the station. And as they're transporting him to the station, Mr. Tin's basically laughing because there's no more microfilm because his assassin destroyed it. So he feels like he's going to get off scot-free again. And then what Sana says is, Strepsil's like, oh, we told Panadol hears about this, blah, blah, blah. And Aspirin's like, yeah, Panadol's never going to hear about it. And Strepsil's like, what do you mean? Why? Is he too afraid to confront me now? Is he a chicken shit? Blah, blah, blah. And Strepsil's like, no, he's dead. And Aspirin's like, what? He's dead. And as they're handcuffed, like walking down to the station, Mr. Tin passes them by. And Aspirin says something like, there is no God. Or where is God? And Mr. Tin's like, he's here. He's like, he's the one who's let me get to live on with my luxurious life while the people who are really in trouble are going to be put away. He's like, and I get to live scot-free. And then he does his laugh like, oh, ha, 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 ha. And then Strepsil's like, he's the one who killed Panadol. Yeah. And as they're getting transported to the station, a police officer has a gun in his holster, and fucking Aspirin pulls it out, turns to him, and starts fucking shooting Mr. Tin and kills him. And that's the end of the movie. He kills Mr. Tin. So, like, the whole point of that thing was, like, even though you're an evil bastard, like, you're not going to get away with your shit. So, yeah. I thought it was a cool ending, but I did not expect it at all. Yeah,
but it's what I also appreciate about Hong Kong movies. They just end the movie right there, because in the West, you'll probably see them, like the aftermath, what happens afterward. You don't care about that. It's best to just, like, cut. And it's just the scene is just being, like, paused, stopped, and that's what you see for the end credits. And it happens a lot in Hong Kong movies, which I really fucking love. That it's just like, okay, this is the ending that you want. You just sit like, wow. But then you actually like, what? That was actually a really fucking cool movie. Whereas with Western movies, just like, yeah, well, maybe, you start to doubt a few things. But it's so cool. And again, thanks, Joe, because if you weren't here, this stream would be like 5 minutes. Just me like, oh yeah, I really like this movie.
Nah, it's cool. I mean, like I said, thanks for letting me, introducing me to it. Because like without you even like having the knowledge about it and stuff, I never would have been able to see it. So yeah, I mean, it was sweet. It was refreshing, like you said, and I appreciate that about Hong Kong flicks too, because they're, especially ones like this, like 80s ones, they're just amazing. Over the top. Yeah, just over the top. But it brings me back to the first CinemAsian stream we ever did where we talked about emotion and all that stuff. Like, everything is in this movie. Mm. And we critique the Western stuff a lot, and I know we're probably going to keep saying this over and over again, but this movie reminded me of it again. Like, the stuff in the West just doesn't seem like it has as much heart, like, as a whole. I'm not saying that all movies in the West are garbage, but it's like we said before, everything needs to be turned to a trilogy now, and everything has to be like a cinematic universe, like 10 or 15 movies. And movies like this, they don't. There's comedy in it. There's really good action choreography in it. There's two really, really strong, powerful female leads in it, which over here in the States, when's the last time you saw a movie like that? Two really strong female leads, not just one singular person. I mean, two really strong female leads in the movie.
Good question. And I only can think of Atomic Blonde at the moment.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, this movie came out in 1985. If you compare that to 1985 cinema in the West, what movie can even compare? Probably nothing, So it's like,
no.
The movie has all. It's funny. It's serious in some points. It's, I will say this: there are parts of it that are over the top and kind of like, yeah, that would probably never happen in real life. But at the same time, like Sana just said, 99.9% of the scenes were done by Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock. So it actually was done in real life, even though you might not think it's possible. They were able to do it. So it just goes to show you that these women and these actors and actresses are superhuman. You know, we talk about like superheroes and stuff, and Sana and I talk about comic books and stuff, and we love that stuff as well. But a lot of that stuff is based on martial arts and the qualities of these people who are super, super athletically high trained, just like out of this world, mind blowing, peak physical condition. I mean, just peak physical condition. And Michelle and Cynthia are probably the finest examples of that in this movie. I mean, they're really fit. And yeah, it's a really good movie. If you like crime movies, if you like martial arts movies, if you like a lot of humor in your movies, like those three things are like meshed so well together in this, and it's great. It's great.
It's what a movie should be about.
Yeah, it should. A movie, and much like really any piece of entertainment, at least for me anyway, and I'm sure Sonic can say the same thing. I don't want something that's going to just focus on one emotion for me. I want to have like peaks and valleys. I want to be able to read a book and it be like, man, this is really serious, but then have some humor so I can just like, relax a little bit, and then really scary at some points. And then I relax a little bit because there's comedy or something or a slow part. A movie can't always be constant. You hear it all the time. Like critics will say like, the movie was so action packed from beginning to end, but there was no downtime. It was almost like there was no story. Well, that's the point. Like, I want a movie with a story, and in order to have a story, you have to have more than one emotion. It has to be something that's very well rounded and can touch people in different ways that really makes you feel something.
Mm-hmm.
So, just like Bruce Lee said in Enter the Dragon, you have to feel it. Same thing. That's what art is. That's what life is. It's a feeling.
But that's what CinemAsian is, because this is our feeling for movies that we really love.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. That is 100% right. I agree.
Once again.
Yeah.
So, initially, for this particular stream, I had another movie in mind, which will happen next week. We are going to remain in China, in Hong Kong. And as I mentioned before, my heroes are for sure Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. So I have to stick to those. Buddy! Next week, we're going to do one of my all-time favorite Hong Kong movies. Police Story! Oh!
Amazing Jackie Chan flick.
Yes! Amazing. Even the score or the song he sang himself, I'm like, if only I knew Chinese, I would go to a karaoke bar and
Someday.
So, who knows? But tomorrow, are we going to be staying in China or?
Yes, ancient China with this one. Hero, baby, Jet Li. Amazing film. One of my favorites. One of my favorite Jet Li movies ever. This, Fearless. Once Upon a Time in China is great. He's just much like Jackie, much like Donnie Yen, much like Chow Yun Fat. He's in a million movies. Yeah. And then next weekend, after Police Story, next weekend, I think we're gonna do this on my channel. Kung Fu Soul. And this is thanks to Sana for Yes Madam, because some of the comedic scenes in there with those three thieves, aspirin, Strepsil, and Panadol, really made me think of how funny this movie is, and it reminded me of this movie a lot. So this was influenced by Yes Madam, the stream. So That'll be next
It's
weekend after Police Story.
I'm afraid we are going to be sticking around with some Chinese movies for quite some time because I got some of my DVDs out here and I was looking at them and all of these Chinese movies and like, oh my god, I hope you have seen it's probably in 2 weeks from now then. I already know what I want to talk about.
Hey, it's cool to have stuff lined up. And Son and I were talking about this before the stream, and I know that this isn't really about Yes Madam, but it kind of sort of is, right? Basically, with the whole Chinese thing, her and I were saying, like, martial arts movies and Hong Kong cinema was kind of like the first live action Asian thing that we kind of got into. Well, for me anyway, it was Bruce Lee. And then later it was Jet Li and, Chow Yun Fat and all that kind of stuff. For Japan, what really got me into Japanese culture and stuff was more anime and manga. That's kind of what was my segue into it. And then later it became like the movies like 13 Assassins and the stuff by Takashi Miike and, Akira Kurosawa and all those movies. I discovered that after I'd already found out about manga and anime. Whereas like Chinese culture was like martial arts movies like when I was a kid. I mean, I was a little kid watching this stuff. So, and when you're a kid, we talked about this before the stream. I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, and they were Japanese, but I didn't know that when I was a kid. I was just like, they're ninjas. They must be Asian. Know what nationality? So when I watched Bruce Lee, I was like, oh, he's a ninja too, right? He's a ninja. But not really, because ninjas are Japanese, right? Chinese,
yeah, but
words.
the assumption that all Asians are badass people, right? Because you think that, oh, he's probably a ninja. Whereas when you see a Western person, you're like, oh,
he's probably
whatever.
a dude. Yeah. Pretty
Right?
much.
Because,
I mean, it's true. It's
because
true, right?
when you think of Asia, people make a lot of jokes about like Asian people. I mean, everybody thinks that they're super smart because they always make like these math jokes, but then also the fighting stuff. So apparently they're doing something right.
No, but you're right. And I think that goes back to the whole topic of the stream we talked about with women, and even everybody is quick to make generalizations about a particular group of people, particular sex of people, particular race of people, so on and so forth. And I think the reason that is because a lot of people, and you and I talked about this before, it kind of goes back to the Ghost in the Shell stream. Everybody gets spoon-fed this information on the internet, or they don't really branch out or do any research about anything anymore. They kind of hear stuff word of mouth or hear stuff on the news, so to speak, right? Or read an article on the internet and assume it to be told like it's real history without realizing that a journalist or somebody just wrote their opinion down and they're showcasing that to you, and you're pretty much accepting it as fact without actually getting other opinions or viewpoints. It's like, I went to school for history. I'm a historian. I had to do research. When I researched something, I couldn't just read one book and say, okay, that's it. It was like,
Right.
you got to read 50 books to realize what you want to say. And some people might agree in the book. Some people might disagree, but you got to form your own opinion about it. A lot of people don't do that.
Actually, here, I have 2 books, right? For example, that I'm like reading this Memoirs of a Geisha, which I already posted about. But here it's Dutch. It's The Empress. It is about, I'd show you, but it's about an empress that really existed. I don't know how to say it, like Chishir or something like that. But I'm reading a book about her, and it's like this thick. And as you can see, all these sticky notes, because, your girl got to take notes and stuff.
Nobody takes notes anymore, though, Son. That's a good thing. See, you're old school. You're doing the research, right?
Like I have so many books that has like so many papers, like post-its between.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. But I have it mostly like, if I think about the books that I have, it's either about like Italian true crime, but more like from 100 years ago. Maybe just books like Mario Puzo, but other than that, is all like Asian-based history stuff. So
Mario Puzo, Godfather stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has some good stories.
I got some Italian true crime myself right up here. It's all about New Orleans and stuff, though, with the Italian mafia there. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, like I'm really interested, like in like the New Yorker doing the prohibition. Is that what's called? So
Yeah,
been for a bit because he says we need him. So if Jeff can do the email, so I can add him, so we can maybe go on for like just a bit more. Maybe he will have some input, some interesting input that we maybe didn't think of. Maybe he can teach us how to pronounce the names correct.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we just have to wait and see how fast Jeff is, because I think you did send it to me on Instagram, but I don't have this thing on my phone, so it will be such a drag to. Plus, I can put it in the comment section, I guess, but I guess we just do it by email because I have to be a bit more strict with my. Yeah, but as I said, I cannot just. Oh, fuck it then. I'll look it up. Fuck.
Yes, madam.
All right. Let me see. Invite.
Yes, madam.
Hold on, Jeff. I am now currently opening up the whole fucking Gmail thing, and it's always so fucking slow.
That's because of this live stream. It's sucking up all the speed.
I know something else could be sucking. Fucking pepperoni pizza. 2.
No comment from me. Sorry. I don't know.
Pepperoni pizza.
It's
It's
delicious.
nice. Yeah. Especially that salty juice from the pepperoni.
Yeah.
Oh, pizza. But then
So
again,
good.
I'm on my period, so I got all reasons to go all out. I'm sensitive, bitches. Oh, God. It will turn into a baby metal. Give me chocolate. Give me the
Yeah.
chocolate, the chocolate. Okay, I'm now checking if I typed everything right. I guess. So, if I'm correcto, Jeffo, I sent you the fucking email. Oh, only now I see it here. Like I could have. Oh, fuck it. Fuck life. So how are you doing?
I'm thinking about that bento box that Japanese place I had yesterday. It was so good. Chicken
Food.
teriyaki, a little bit of sushi,
A little
nice
bit of
rice
this, a
ball.
little bit of that. Ooh. Some nice onigiri with tuna.
Oh man, I want some more. I want another bento box.
Oh, more.
I want more. I mean, I got my chopsticks ready too. I'm ready, baby. Give me some more. Yeah.
So how's everybody doing in the chat? Because I see 3 people are here, so probably our favorite Loey.
Everybody left. It's me, you, and Jeff.
Yeah, who knows?
Yes, madam.
A legit movie. Check it out, people. As I said, I got it on this random Hong Kong Legends DVD box. I would have never imagined. So I saw this guy, and I think I actually bought it for Bullet in the Head. That's on here. I was like, "What's Police Assassin's?" Because it said starring Cynthia Rothrock, Michelle Yeoh, and I'm like, "Eh."
Yeah.
And it was the best decision of my life to put it in. I think it was either the Xbox 360 or Xbox 360 too.
Yeah, and if you guys don't want to buy it and you want to check it out before you do that, I watched it today actually on Amazon. You can run it. I think it's only It's only $3.99 American. That's USD. So it's like $4 to rent it, and you can watch it for 48 hours. So you get it for 2 days for $4. It's not bad. You know, if you want to check it out before you actually go buy it, pretty cheap to watch it actually. Not bad at all.
Jeff, did you get the email? Oh wait. All right. We have the champion in the house.
There he is.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Jeff?
Not much. Hey. Ah,
Not much hair,
hold
you
on.
mean?
Give me 1 second.
What happened?
Nah, not much.
No.
But little thing about Jackie and Samo, they're not martial artists exactly. They came from what was it? Chinese opera schools. So they're both from Chinese opera schools. That's one thing.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
totally
That's
forgot to
one fact
mention
about
that.
them.
Because we were talking about it before the stream, that we really like how they brought their what was the word again? That was I want to say robotic.
Yeah.
Robotics? What?
No, aerobat.
Acrobatic?
That word.
Acrobatics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said arrow. I was like, arrow what? Aromatics.
Well, there's a what is it? There's a movie on Netflix you guys should check out. It's Dragon Tiger Gate. It's Danny Yim's in it, and it's an Asian it's actually an Asian comic book from like the 1970s. Originally when, yeah, and it's what Asian kids grew up on. So you guys should check it out. It's a Asian martial arts movie, but it's new. It's more new. It's in between old school and new school, pretty much. It's both combined.
That's
you
sweet,
guys,
man.
you guys would like it. It's Danny's in it, playing one of the main characters and stuff like that. So it's
Is it with the three
that.
guys?
Yeah, the 3 guys, Dragon. Yeah,
Hold on.
You have it, don't you, Sana? She probably has it. I'll check it
Yeah.
out. Jeff. That's sweet, man. I didn't know that.
yeah. Because that's like Danny's like second or first, and then one thing about Danny Yim is he's American born. He's actually born from America. Went back to be a star. So.
That's sweet, man.
Mhm.
Here she is. Here's the reveal. Here it is. Dragon Tiger Gate.
Yeah, it's actually an Asian comic book.
That's awesome. Do you have the comic, Jeff?
I had them when I was a kid, and then I saw.
Which one?
That's it. Yep, that's it.
I
Yep.
love this movie. It's
Yep.
what's his name?
Danny Yim.
This guy.
Oh yeah. Damn it, I forgot it. I forgot his English name, but I know his Cantonese name. know a lot of
Nicholas Che?
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, that's his English name, but his Cantonese name is a pain in the butt to say anyway. But there's a lot. They're like Samo and all them. Oh, then the Yes Madam thing. Like you seen the where she did the split on that
Yeah.
wall or whatever. She couldn't walk for 3 days after she did that.
I bet. That was a wide split.
Yeah, but like how she did this because she didn't want to complain to the producer saying, "Hey, I can't," she just held it for like a good. She said like 2 hours or something like that, like that on the wall. So
I didn't know that, man. That's crazy.
trust me, I watched after you guys said it, I watched a couple of her interviews to see what she would like when she was talking about it. She talked about that. Oh, and where the 2 guys are fighting with them in the like the penthouse or whatever it was, they're actually talking shit. Them and her and the ladies are talking shit about their dicks and shit. So so
That's legit.
yeah.
I love it.
Well, they didn't put
Because-
that in the subtitles.
That's why I rewatched it. I'm like, and then I watched them translate it. I'm like, that's not what they said.
That makes it even better. They should have put the freaking
No, because
dick fuck in there.
Michelle Yeoh and the other chick insinuated about the knife being small. So they didn't give it like when they translated it. It didn't give off that. where it said they were insinuating how small that knife is. Oh, you need that small ass knife, da 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 da. But it was talking. They were actually saying, you got a small ass dick.
That's badass, man.
Yeah, like if you watch some of those movies, it's like the insinuation stuff. They don't translate good enough. Either they don't translate it right, and it doesn't. You're like, and if you're speaking that language and you're watching it, you're like, what the? That's not what it said.
I only had that small dick reference when they were at the airport and Cynthia Rothrock is just telling Michelle's character like, it's typical man with small dick.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But that's through the whole movie though. That's actually like both of them through the whole freaking movie, and they're talking man. It's actually that movie is actually like what was it? What do we call the women that damn it trying to think. Give me 1 second.
I have brain farts all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah. What was it? Not being sexist, but what the? Maybe Joe can help me out with this. Not being sexist, but they're being.
Yeah, Joe, help him.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, not being sexist, but they're being like they hate men, not hate men, but they
the feminist thing.
Yeah. That movie's like more like. If you actually watch it in Cantonese, they're trying to gear towards the feminists.
There we go. Yeah.
If you actually watch it in Cantonese, you're like, oh, okay. And then plus, Samuel's been a comedic actor for a long time, though. The martial arts thing is second hand. Is when he got older is when he started doing the martial arts stuff. When he was younger, it was more comedic and stuff like that because he wanted to be different. He didn't want to be just like everybody else.
Mm.
Oh yeah,
and he really showcases that.
Yeah, and the Kung Fu Hustle one. The guy is actually a comedic actor. He's actually known for being a comedic actor in Hong Kong. He's not known for being a martial artist or anything like that. So that's why that movie is so funny because he's known for being a comedic actor back then. Like there's a bunch of comedic movies that he's in, and you're like, what the hell? Like.
What's he doing kicking people? Yeah.
But not only that, but it's like he actually took the role really serious. He actually got in shape because if it wasn't for because he did the Shaolin soccer thing and everything else. So
I remember seeing it in theaters. My friend, I was telling Sana, and he was like jacked. I'm like, you sure this guy's a martial artist? He's jacked. Yeah.
But he's like all the stuff he's done previous to that is like what Guardians of the Galaxy dude did like. That you can exactly the same thing. It's like he's a comedic actor, and then he went like at the way to the other end.
That's cool though.
But the Dragon Tiger Gate, Joe, I think you will really like it because it's like comic books and stuff like that. So
I appreciate the knowledge, man. Thanks for letting me know, dude. I'm definitely checking it out.
It's on the list for the one that I had in mind for like after Police Story. It's also with Nicholas because I really like him in movies. I know the movie as Viral Factor. It's I think from 2005, but he also has one awesome movie with the son of Jackie Chan. I cannot really think of the name of the movie right now.
The pothead. Jackie disowned him because he come to find out he was a pothead.
But that movie though is pretty cool.
No, I know that. I'm just saying little funny facts because you guys don't get like my mom used to get the Chinese newspaper and it was big headlines. It was like Jackie disowns his son for being pothead.
Yeah, but it's a big deal over there because as I mentioned before in the stream with K-pop, there was a K-pop artist that smoked weed, and it became like a big fucking scandal in Korea that he actually was suicide.
Because of anything with weed or anything like that is with the Yakuza or because drug wise it's dealing with them. So old school thinking is if you're doing drugs or anything like that, you must have a hand in with the triads or Yakuza or something like that because you would get this if back then you would get disowned because I have an uncle that actually got disowned because he was running with, triads and stuff like that, and he got disowned, and I didn't even know about him until older, until my great grandmother told me, hey, you have an uncle, but we disowned him because he was, running in the triad circle, so we didn't want nothing to do with him, so we disowned him. Like, I didn't know nothing about it, so.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore over there, even what we think it was like something so small, so silly, over there is like.
Yeah, because their mentality is old school mentality. There's not, I mean, they're still not in the new school, trying to think of, hey, it could help, but, whatever.
Yeah, but in a way, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Nah, yeah, but the worst part is if you go back and you're American born, they make fun of you pretty much all the way. They'll make fun of you. Oh, you're American born. Da 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 da. They'll either call you a banana or a Twinkie. Because I'm Asian, but I'm Asian outside, but I'm white mentality inside. So you know what I mean. So so slang terms. Trust me, the most racist people are Asian people. So
yeah,
like if you actually towards their own, and not only towards their own, but if you actually sit there and actually listen to them talk, they talk shit about everybody.
Yeah, you also have that a lot with again Korea, with a lot of foreigners thinking that Korea is so amazing due to the movies and K-pop, but once they go there is so much racism going on, and because
against
they
their
are
own
not
kind on top of that.
They get like these weird jokes thrown at them, like, because in Korea everyone is like what we would consider anorexic, but over there, but with us whiteys, it's like we have a bit more fat on the bones, and that they will really just make jokes out of it, that they really become like insecure, like, oh, am I too fat? Or in Korea also, going to the plastic surgery is ordering pizza for us.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
They really there actually is what was it? Asian company came out with whiting cream, like actually what cream that turns Asian people white, but it's not the white what you guys think it is. It looks like the tribes in Africa where they put the stuff on, and when they put it on, that's what it looks like. I'm like, why would you? Or it looks like what was it, powder, like from the movie Powder, the white. I'm like, what?
I bought this because when I was in Japan, I went to this Korea makeup shop, and they had the whitening cream. Like, if even if I would put it on my face, like, I would turn even more white. I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. But having been hanging around with a lot of Indonesian Chinese people around here, there's like, yeah, but the whiter you are, the more rich you look, because if you're more dark,
and then the more accepted you are. That's what they think. It's the more accepted you're gonna be. Is the more white you look, the more accepted you're gonna be. The less slanted your eyes are, the more accepted you're gonna be. But right now, it's not. Right now, it's everybody's accepting the IP Man movies and all that other stuff. Is they want to be us. You know what I mean? Now, you know what I mean? It's like they want to be us, but it's like, but old school mentality is still, oh, if you're white, it's good. If you're Asian, it's not so good. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, man. But my thing is, I don't care. Honestly, I don't. Like, I don't give a, what am I? You know what I mean? It's like, whatever, So what movies you guys watching next?
Police Story next week on my channel.
Okay.
It's
All right.
just.
Yep. I know a couple of things about that one that you guys are gonna like for sure.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
tell you, yeah. I know. I know. I know. My stepdad grew up actually made us sit down and actually watch half of these movies. And then, I remember watching half of them and then wanting to be them. Like,
of course.
I took out lights I had pretended to kick one time, and Sando flew up, took out a whole strip of lights. I'm like, son of a. And it was it looked like it was raining snow, but it was because it was one of those fluorescent ones. So all you see is the sand will go up, and I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Oh, the glass fixture broke and came down on.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like my uncles played golf in the house one time, and then the freaking the ball. Oh yeah. Poof. And all we see is the club go. I'm like, oh, Grandpa's gonna kill us because all I see is gunk, and then all the glass shattered again. I'm like, oh boy. And then
I guess everyone
my
went through this
yeah my
phase.
yeah my uncles all say, oh yeah, your grandfather's toned down now, man. When we were kids, man, he was vicious. Like he would come up. He said he would come around the corner with a belt, like a cloth belt, and all you would see is the belt come across the freaking corner and get them real like hard. Like, but come to find out, he he knew a little bit of martial arts. It was funny because I didn't know that because by the time I knew Grandpa was like, he was old and frail, but it was like when he was younger, he was like they said he was vicious. Like, yeah, he would come around with the sandal. Like they he's beat my uncle to where where my great aunt has actually told my grandfather to stop. Like, or whenever he would whenever my uncle would ask for cash, he goes, first thing my because they had 13 kids and did it, and then the younger uncle was asking for cash for a toy. He's like, dude, do you understand? We have 13. You got 13 siblings here.
There's no cash for a toy.
Yeah.
So let's go kick the light bulbs.
Well, I have one uncle that had got some type of cold or some type of sickness back then, and they actually gave up like being family to him to what is it, to a parish or something like that, to have like them adopted, like a church adopted him and everything to take care of him because because Grandpa didn't have the money back then. Like it was shit. The medical bills would have been expensive, so it had no way to take care of him. So I had to give him up and everything.
That's
So-
sad.
Yeah. And then like dad was the oldest one. Dad had to like I've heard stories about my dad. My dad had to go work when he was 13 to raise his brothers and sisters and stuff like that. Like out working like hard labor and stuff like that just to help Grandpa out to raise them. So it was just to hear stories. And then when we were kids, those guys would always take us to take us to like parks, like theme parks and stuff like that, to like every holiday. I remember like every holiday when we were kids would be always Universal or one of those, you know what I mean? So it was like they wanted us to enjoy our childhood, not like him where he had no childhood at all.
But I know that you do Cantonese
Comic
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
Yeah, but it's always way too late for me. So I
No,
never.
yeah, no, I know that.
Uh,
Previously I didn't, you know what I mean? I wanted to be different. I don't want to be outside of the box. And then a friend from middle school actually told me, hey, why don't you do that? Because you used to teach us Cantonese all the time.
yeah, so
Because
I assume that you speak it fluent then.
yeah, fluent
Very
enough
cool.
where yeah, better than my brother. My brother's but mine's a little better because since I had to use it more, since I had to communicate with my grandfather, or whenever he would have to go to the hospital, guess who would have to handle stuff? Me.
Mm.
So, and I would have to, communicate with them. Dude, he lied about his birthday, so he's a lot older than he is. He's a lot younger than he is because he had to lie about because he had to go when he left China. When he went to Hong Kong, he had to lie about his age just to get work.
Ah,
Yeah. So I laughed. I looked at the and then because my aunts and uncles were telling me a different birthday, but when you look at his ID says you know what I mean, says whatever was on his certificate, whatever was on the stuff that when he came in on. So I'm looking at it and they're telling me a different birthday, so I'm writing it down. I'm like, dude, his ID doesn't say that. that's his actual birth. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I'm just going with his ID.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because it's so funny to just to communicate with them and then just to actually talk to them. It's like their mentality of like, oh, I want to. What drives me nuts is they always bitch and moan about stuff here, and they Hong Kong is so much better and all this stuff. I go, then why don't you guys go back? I'm like, and then when I tell them that, then they'll flip the script on me and go, I go, why? That my thing is, I go, I'll throw stuff out there and go, why'd you end up leaving? You know what I mean? My big thing was why'd you guys end up leaving? Da 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 da, is and all this other stuff, and then they'll bring it up again, and then like because the big thing is if you're dyslexic over there or if you're any type of disability over there, they don't recognize it. They don't see it as a disability. They just think you're dumb. The thing is, a lot of the kids back there or back then had dyslexia, like my dad, like my one of my uncles does, and because I have dyslexia, but by him talking to me and by him his demeanor, you can tell he has it because he's making up for it. Like certain parts of it, him doing stuff, he's trying to make up for it. Like he's trying to be stronger at certain points, and you're like, that makes sense, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot, especially if when you get bullied for it, you try to stand out in a different way. Or also in order to kind of like scare people off, like don't fuck with me. Most
yeah,
of the time.
I try to, you know, I put it all on my IG to try to push this thing more. So I'm like, hey, if you guys want to watch Asian cinema stuff, hey, here, Sandy and Joe always do it. So try to push it more. So try to help you guys out a little
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, man, we
Well,
appreciate
much
it.
appreciated.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
we
I don't mind talking about it
watch
because I grew up on it. I don't mind talking about it because I grew up on it. And then, like, a little funny fact about the new Mulan movie or whatever it is, new streaming thing.
Mm.
Originally, Jet and Danny weren't gonna do the movie. Originally, they didn't agree. They weren't gonna agree to do it. The only reason Jet agreed to do it was his 13-year-old daughter that came up to him. Hey, Dad, are you gonna do it? Because they grew up on the movie. So he does. He ends up saying, "Okay, I'll do it." He calls Danny up and goes, "Hey, are you doing it?" Yeah. Daughter said the same thing to him, and so they end up doing the movie. Because originally they said no. Originally they said they turned it down like a couple of times before they even said yes to it.
I'm glad their daughters pushed them. That's great.
Yeah.
It'll be something to look forward to now.
Yeah, but Jet goes. Just goes, man, I sat down way too much in this movie. I wanted to fight. Like, you didn't have enough. He goes, oh, I didn't have enough fight scenes in this movie.
That's awesome. I could see him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes, oh yeah, he goes, oh yeah, Dan, you know, Danny got more fight scenes than I did, and then it was funny because one of the people that were asking him questions asked them both. They go, if you and Jet had to face each other, who would win? He goes, yeah, and then I love Jet's answer. Jet's answer was, the producer wins, the studio wins.
That's awesome.
Because I was thinking he was gonna say, you know, he was gonna say, oh, I would or Danny, you know, one of them would, but nope. He goes, oh yeah, the studio wins because
we'll be making them cash money when we fight.
Yeah. And then there's Martin Scorsese actually did a movie on one of the Asian movies that Danny's in, one of the Danny movies that he's in. I think it's either Killzone or one of those that is a remake of the Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark
Internal
Wahlberg.
Affairs.
Yeah.
Internal Affairs. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Son and I talked about that. That's the Internal Affairs is an amazing movie. It's so good.
Andy Lau is also amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the guys that Sandy talks about is a lot of them don't get enough love on our end, our end. It's just, but if you're a American born Chinese person, you grew up on those. I remember going to the Asian market and they have when it was old VHS half, and you would be able to rent those movies. I remember my grandfather would rent a bunch of them, and then just like retape them onto his like he'll dude, he had a side, no lie, he had a side hustle because he would record all of that stuff, and then he would just let his friends borrow them and stuff like that. Like he had his own little side hustle. It was funny as hell because he'll go to the video store and get it from the Asian market because the Asian market would like rent it for this much. He goes, oh, I'll rent it for less, or I'll just let the friends borrow it.
That's
He would
sweet.
just it's so freaking funny. I remember that back then. Yeah,
That's
and then
awesome.
like a lot of the stuff is a lot of those movies I grew up on pretty much. Like a lot of them, like all the Jet movies, like the Hero movie. Like originally, like what was it? Because originally he was the wushu guy, and but a lot of the guys weren't exactly martial artists. Like Sam, there's a whole class of them. I think it's Samuel, Jackie. There's a couple. There's other 5 or 4 of them that were not. They were Asian opera guys, and they jumped in this. So they weren't originally martial artists in general. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's the
What?
other guy that's also most of the time with Sammo Hung. I forgot his name, but he's also in Dragons Forever.
Yeah, and they'll work together. Like the
Yeah.
whole group of them works together. Like in China the action movie genre thing it's small. So Samuel and them they started their own companies on purpose because there wasn't enough companies out there. It was, and then they would start their own companies, and then they would work. And then even Samuel's produced a lot of stuff. Like a lot of people doesn't know that he's a guy from behind the scenes. Like
Yeah,
he
like this
produces
movie.
them. Yep. Yep. And then he's produced. There's a TV show with him. I think I think you would know the martial law originally when he tried to become Jackie when came over with Jackie at the same time when Rush Hour was going on. Martial law went. They were trying to make it hand in hand because you could tell right when Rush Hour came out, he came over to do martial law, and nobody didn't take to him because he was a big fat guy. You know what I mean? That's being honest because they would
Yeah.
look at him. He's a big fat dude. That you know what I mean? But dude,
Yeah,
for
but
how
not to be underestimated.
yeah, trust me, but dude, he
Especially
could.
the fight with Donnie Yen. Again,
Yeah,
people look it up. Among versus
yeah,
Donnie Yen. It's just
yeah.
woo!
2 fights. There's 2. There's the one in IP Man, and there's the other one in Killzone, where he's the crime boss. There's 2. There's
It's Killzone, but I know it as that. I probably pronounced it wrong, like Salpola or something like that.
yeah. But it's not even. It doesn't even say in Cantonese. It's not even Killzone. That's what it's funny. So
Hmm.
they'll translate. Oh, what's gonna get their attention? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yep.
yeah, because
Well,
a lot of
definitely.
the titles are bland. A lot of those titles are like not like police assassin. That is what the movie is called. It's not Yes Madam, but the main reason they don't want to have put out in the U.S. police assassin, kind of say it's kind of
California.
obvious. Yeah, kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Yep.
But also, Sean, thank you so much for the compliment.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, man.
I mean, once again, if Joe wasn't here, it would have been a complete mess. He brings in
Yeah.
the structure.
Yeah.
He really is the sensei, the shifu.
Yeah. You guys need your token Asian guy too, you know.
Jeff. That's Jeff Forrest.
Yeah, I got you. Because a lot of facts, you guys, I had to make her laugh anyway. I had to make you laugh because that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, you guys need a token Asian guy so you guys can get away with some of the stuff, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So is there, because you do it on Wednesday usually, is there a word you want to teach us?
Yeah.
But
What
it's
do
not
you
like
guys?
the movie.
Yeah. Anything you guys want to know? Anyway, anything you guys want? Anything you want to know, Sandy? I can translate it if you want, but
The entire language.
I can I can do a greeting if you want.
Yeah, because I only know ni hao and ni hao ma, but Simple Simon recently told me that is Mandarin and Cantonese is a bit different.
Yeah, bit different, dude. Okay, you want to know how many dialects there are over there? There's over 1,000 dialects. There's over 1,000 and something dialects, and then not all dialects get used. Like the Cantonese dialect is a dying dialect, so a lot of people use the Mandarin dialect because in government, how to translate in between all the Asian, you know, all the Asian people is the Mandarin, because if they use the, like how English is the main language here, they want to use Mandarin as the main language there for any type of government, any type of if you had to, talk to somebody, hey, the main one is Mandarin. But
Yeah.
Cantonese is another dialect. There's all kinds of other dialects. There's like a country dialect that's my grandmother speaks, and it's freaking funny because people would make fun of her dialect because it's so funny. You know what I mean? So it's like it's different
I
dialects and
actually
stuff like
wanted
that.
to study Chinese a few years ago. The
Take it
accent,
from a Chinese born person. It's a fucking pain in the ass.
the accent, like you have like the A, and it's like and people like
Yeah.
no, you should pronounce it differently. I'm like, well, fuck
Dude,
this.
I
I'm
I
sticking
thought
to
it was gonna be I thought it was gonna be easy breezy for me because I did it in high school. I needed to take a 1 year language, so I'm thinking, oh, it's Mandarin. It shouldn't be that hard. So, dude, that damn teacher looked at me and then went, okay, I'll put you through the ringer. I'm like, oh, great. So, freaking, I never get F's or C's, dude. Dude,
Oh,
that the C's and F's. I'm like, really? And I'm like, but you could tell he had the in for like all the people that were Asian in the class. Yeah, he's Asian in general, but he had it in for all of us because it was like, all right, you guys wanted to try to breeze by this thing. I'm gonna make it harder for you guys.
and you were like, C is for Cantonese.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not even that, man. It was like the test and all that other stuff. It was like it. He would make it a lot harder for us, and then you would see the other friends that were like not Asian, like Hispanic or white. Their tests are like way different. You're like, what the hell?
Mm.
He was
So
he was
how
making
do
it
you
so
say
hard.
like hello in Cantonese? Like I know only as I said ni hao or ni hao ma, like how are you doing or how are you?
Ne ho ma. That, yeah, you
Ne
said it
ho
right. That's Canton. Yeah, ne ho
ne
ma.
ne
Ne.
ho ma.
Yeah, that's the same thing. It's just
It's funny because
some.
ne is no in Dutch. Ne ho ma.
Yeah.
Which actually, if I would say it in Dutch, like ne ho ma, it's like saying like no, please stop. Ne ho ma.
But it's hello in Cantonese.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that's awesome.
Like some of the English translate, like some things translated in English to Cantonese. Sometimes they don't have translations, or sometimes either the translations is a little funky. Like what was it? Like trying to think of one that's actually like a funky one. Uh, like Guai Lo means white guy. You know what I mean? But there's certain things, like certain tones and stuff. If you say it the wrong way or say it a different way, it could mean a cuss word in Cantonese. So it depending on the tone, because if the tone's different, you're gonna go, oh crap. You know what I mean? Because I've done it to a couple of people. Like, oh, my grandfather's my favorite from my grandfather. I love my grandfather to death. But then he used to own an Asian market. Like he used to own an Asian market, and he had other races working for him. But he would always go. They go kai dai, but I mean, in Cantonese it means you asshole. But but so everybody that used to work for him that wasn't Asian didn't know what it meant, or didn't speak Cantonese, didn't know what it meant. So they would come up to me since I was a young, since I was just a kid, and they know I wouldn't be offended or nothing if I ask, if I go ask them to translate it. And I would ask him to translate it. Guess what he tells me? When I was a kid, when I was like 6 or 7, and then these guys are asking me to ask my grandfather what that meant. My grandfather goes, "Oh, it means good boy."
That's awesome.
So, but when he actually meant you assholes, speed up.
That's great. Good boy.
Yes, dude. That's why I love my grandfather to death, and he would always do it. But my grand everybody doesn't give my grandfather credit. My grandfather's smart as hell, but he purposely like his English isn't good, but he can understand you like he can understand you, but but his English isn't good, but he can understand you. Like people will be talking crap about him, and he goes and I can see it in his face. He understands. You know what I mean? Like you can tell he's taking it in, and he understands you're talking crap about him. And it's like people are looking down at him. I'm like, you might not wanna, but like when we were
Do you
kids,
still
like
remember, Joe? Neoma.
yeah,
Neoma.
Nehoma. So like I said, different like Sandy said, different languages. It could mean different things. Like it means please stop.
Yeah, the complete opposite.
So yeah.
That's interesting.
But
And
yeah,
then
it's cool.
pretty in Cantonese is lang. Pretty is lang.
Lang.
But yeah, lang. But and then if you say lan and lang, they sound alike. But lan means lazy. Lan means lazy, and then lang. See, so if you say it in two different tones, it could mean two different things.
If you say lang in Dutch, it means like tall.
Oh yeah, yeah, we got one too. We got what was it? There's a one. I forgot the Asian to translate it, the English one, but it's freaking funny because the American one is not bad, but if you translate it into Cantonese, it's not a good thing. But I forgot the phrase, but it was freaking hilarious because I'm like looking at the box of the translation and I'm like, wait a minute, guys, this is a wrong. Like sometimes if they translate the movies and movie names and stuff like that, it's funny because you're looking at it, you're like, wait a minute.
And yes, it's the same in Japanese, right? It's height.
Height, yeah. But
Haha, what's no?
yeah.
What is no?
No.
Mo.
Mo.
Height. Mo.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
Yeah.
I will write it down.
Oh.
Stay tuned. Next year, entire show in Cantonese.
No, but one thing is, hai means in Cantonese slang can mean vagina too. I'm just letting you know.
I'm living
fact.
for that.
Yeah. Little fact. You know. But if you hear an Asian guy saying "dafe gay" or anything like that, means the one what is it? Trying to think. Dafe gay is another like there's a bunch of slang terms like dude, there's a whole bunch of like Cantonese slang terms. It's like soy sauce chicken. It means the si yao gai, but there's a slang term for that. It means something else. But I'll tell you off air what that one is because I don't want to say it on air. That one's a
as
little.
As long as it's bad, I want to know everything.
Yeah.
I
can teach you all the. Yeah.
How's my new favorite one though?
Yeah.
Now that it means in slang.
Yeah. Like there's a bunch of words they use in slang. Like there's a bunch of stuff they use. Like you're probably like, what the hell? But in actual translation, it doesn't mean that. But sometimes if you're because when they're talking and when they're writing, it's two different things. But when they're talking, they'll use like how we use what's up or whatever. We have stuff like that. It's just a lot of people don't know that sometimes. So it's like, oh, you could hear the Asian people at the nail salon or something talking and stuff like that. You think they're talking really nice about you, but they're really talking crap. But how shitty your feet are, or all kinds of stuff.
That's kick-ass.
Awesome.
Oh,
the only Cantonese I know is where you grab the phone. Wait.
Oh, white. Yeah, it means hi and on the phone. There's like white. Yeah, white and then thank you is doje. Doje means thank you.
Dolce.
Yeah, doje. Yeah, it means thank
Doje.
You. Yeah.
I'm gonna write it down, people, because I'm a nerd. I want to know. Doje.
Like I said, all you guys have to do is put it in the comments on Cantonese Comic Wednesday. I can see it, and then if you guys want to know it, I'll teach you guys. All you guys have to do is put it in the comments.
Yeah.
If you guys
Yeah, if
even
I'm
want to
awake.
learn,
Oh,
yeah, if
but I
you,
could also do it afterwards, so you can do it another time,
yeah,
of course.
yeah. That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of it doing live because I was getting tired of trying to think of words. I'm like, screw this. I'm doing it live and see if you guys would, give me words to, do it with. So I'm like, I like it live better anyways. It's more interaction. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, but
So,
Sean wants me to say
oh,
the word for soy sauce chicken. Uh, Sean can actually guess what it is, but yeah, I'm not gonna because we'll get still flagged for sure for that one.
hey, if anyone's getting flagged, it probably is my channel, so we're doing
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Mine too.
yeah, yeah. But I got some cool stuff going on in the next probably in the next 2 weeks or so. I got my friend what is it Samantha, the Playboy cover model and the Oh My God cover model. I'm actually gonna be doing an interview with her and the creator
Cool.
Anthony. So that'd be kind of cool. I haven't talked to Sam in a long time. I haven't talked to her since 2000. Since early 2000 and I met her 2016. So I haven't talked to her in a while, and she's a big nerd too. So a lot of people don't know that about her. She's a big Star Wars nerd.
That's awesome.
Cool. And later today you will be with the Godfather, right?
Yeah, yep. This I took a nap early, so I'll be off. I won't be my eyelids this time because I freaking overslept last week. I'm like, I woke up. I'm like, damn, it's 4 o'clock. 4 in the morning. Oh, I missed my. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Yep.
I woke
Yeah.
up late
It
last
happens.
Sunday, and I was like, it's already like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm way too late. But he went on for 3 hours. I'm like, damn it!
Yeah. Yeah, I picked this up this week. This golden pre-golden age from from what Robert's telling me.
That's
The
sweet.
redhead.
Yeah, I picked that up. Yeah, I lost out on another book. It was a 9/9. It was signed by a bunch of artists and colorists and all that. I'm like, whatever. And then I saw the Golden Age book. I'm like, Golden Age keeps its value. Golden Age keeps its value, so that's better. Better off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah, and
cool.
then Bruce. Bruce's daughter has a podcast.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know it.
Yep. See? So yeah, I know facts. Some facts you don't. But I know, and he actually talks. She actually talks about all the sayings that he used to like to do. Like she would actually explain like where it came from and like all kinds of cool stuff about it. It's actually kind of neat.
That's awesome.
Probably
Yeah.
also
And
talking
like
about
and like how Golden Harvest was an asshole about giving because her mom actually signed over the rights because didn't know what the hell the contract was that they handed it to her until later because she didn't want to deal with all of it because at the time. But they came to her they said like right after the funeral and everything. You had her sign a bunch of papers, and then they had to fight. Those guys, the daughter and Golden Harvest people had to fight just for them to get the rights back. So now anything that's released by Bruce Lee goes through them, pretty much. Like anything, like even that statue behind you, they had to ask permission from her to get that released.
I love this statue, though. Let me show it real quick.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yep.
Ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen, this is Joe showing the love of his life.
Mhm.
I love this statue so much.
Yeah. My favorite phrase is his "Be like water, my friends." I like that's my favorite phrase out of his. Oh,
Jeff, you got to get this one, brother.
yeah. I know. And then there's another one. There's actually like bracelets and all that stuff with the sayings all on the bracelets too on the site. Like there's all kinds of stuff on the site.
Oh, cool.
Like dude, there's even like shoes. You remember the famous one that the shirt that he has that he's a DJ.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah.
It's on the website too. It's like all kinds of stuff on that website. I'm
That's
like,
sick, man.
yep.
That
And
is
then
sick.
I got a Bruce memorabilia book somewhere around here somewhere. And then
I'm interested in a bracelet, so I'll be looking that one up.
We'll all be wearing the
Yeah.
bracelets on the next stream, matching
Yeah.
bracelets, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Be like, what?
I've been looking at the blue one. The light blue one is the Be Like Water one. It actually has the whole phrase on the bracelet.
Oh wow, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, so tomorrow we will be on Joe's channel, same time.
Yeah.
4
Same bat.
Yeah.
Same
Same
bat channel, same bat place.
Yeah.
But we will
Same
be
time.
talking about the movie Hero.
Jet
You know,
Li.
there's a hero comic book.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
And
I don't have
there's an Asian translation version of it too. And if Asian, the Cantonese art is different too, man. Like the art style is way different. Like if you watch the Dragon Tiger Gate, if Sandy could tell you, in the beginning it actually shows the art, the comic art, because it's from the
Oh,
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's an actual comic. The Dragon Tiger Gate is an actual comic. And then my only reason my uncles actually collected the books was because the characters are named Wong, and my last name is Wong. So the only reason he liked it was because it was Dragon Wong and Tiger Wong. That's the only reason he collected the book. He made me laugh because the only reason he even collected those comics was because their names are just like ours.
That's cool though, man.
Yeah, it makes me laugh because I'm like, and then I finally looked through them. Like I remember growing up when I was a kid, I would look through his collection of Dragon Tiger Gate books. There's a couple other ones that he used to have. That I've been, used to. I used to have, but since I was a kid, you don't keep them up, you don't keep them really well. They're all tore up and stuff. So it's like, yeah. So people gotta check out the Dragon Tiger Gate, man, because it's on Netflix. Yeah. It was on previously. It was on Netflix before, but before like IP Man and all that stuff came out, it was on there a while ago, and then they took it off. And then since Danny got bigger again, put it back on. Oh, there's another Danny. There's a new one Danny's in. That he's an actual security guard, and he's in a fat suit.
Okay.
Check that out too.
Yeah, it's a new movie, but I forgot what the movie was. But if you put Danny Yim in it and his new movie, it's gonna bring it up. And he's in the iconic Bruce Lee yellow jumpsuit, and he's in the fat suit, and he's actually in it. It's so funny.
That's sweet, man. I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, because I think it either just came out or it came out a couple of months ago. But it was freaking funny because I'm like, I saw this. One night I went put Danny Yim's new movie, and like I was curious any new movies that was coming out, and this thing pops out of nowhere. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Why is he so damn fat in it? And then come to find out he's in a fat suit.
That's awesome, man. I'll check it out for sure, man.
All right. So Jeff, thank you for popping in.
Jeff.
Dolce.
You got it.
Woo! And hopefully see you guys tomorrow on Joe's channel. Link is, I believe, most likely, of course, I guess, in the description box below. I'm not sure now. I think I did. I think I added all the information. If not, you should be already stuck to him, bitch. So, tomorrow.
Look, Simon just walked in, strolled in at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock at my end.
We're about to wrap it up.
Good morning, Simon.
I learned a bit Cantonese, so you can be judging me later on because I'll be using it against you.
So that's good. I didn't know Simon was Cantonese either, so that's really good to know.
Yeah, because I told him once ni hao ma, and he was like, that's not mine. It's like, okay, princess. So
yeah, the Godfather thing you gave to the Godfather thing you gave to Robert sticking, the Jeffarella thing sticking. So hey, I'm good with it. Woody Harrelson. Like we all use it. I don't really care. It's like whatever. We're all friends, so it's like whatever.
Are we? No, I'm kidding.
Are we?
Oh, no.
So I'll just pop this in real quick. So Simon, Thank you for
Thanks, Simon.
Well,
Stopping by.
Yeah, stopping by. That's the word. We're gonna end this right now because it's already going for 2 hours. Dang, alert. And the bitch is hungry and I gotta pee. So, see ya!
See you guys.
see you later.
Later.